Everybody, Rich with Prep You outside the bunker today, just hanging out at the table and everything. It is Wednesday, so it's a prepping tip of the week. Every once in a while, on prepping tip of the week, what we're going to do is we're going to bring a new product, something I found, something I've added to my kit that's really important. Now, this item today, even if you're not a prepper, it's a great tool. You should have it with you all times, have it in the house, you know, yeah, you could carry it with you, I guess, but as long as you have this at the house along with a few other items that I'm going to show you, makes a really nice kit for those of us that work with our hands and get objects embedded in them, be them metal, wood, whatever. It's a very good kit. And when you combine stuff like triple antibiotic lotion with it, which is very important. Anytime you cut your hands, you should use that. Um, it really makes a good product. Obviously, you're going to want band-aids too with you, depending on how bad the cut is. If it's not stitch worthy, maybe you want 2x2 pads, 4x4 pads, and some gauze or tape with you. But that should be in your first aid kit. Couple stories real quick. I remember a video or a TV show. It was kind of like an end of the world kind of video. And it talked about this family, having everything. They had everything packed up in their car. Everything was good. And as they went along, the car ran out of fuel and their stuff was stolen and it was hot. And it was, basically out west in the United States in the desert kind of region. And then they couldn't carry it. So they dropped it. They only had water and they made it through all this stuff, and they were able to get themselves into community because let's face it, when things really go bad, the communities are going to be very tight knit. They're not going to want, strangers coming in because it does a couple of things. You don't know, who these strangers are or everything. Plus, it's a drain on their food, water, medicine, their supplies. So it's really hard. So they fought their way into the community. He worked his way up. He was very smart. The dad was very smart. The son was very smart. And they worked their way into the community, worked their way up the hierarchy, and as soon as he became head of the community, mayor, I guess you could call it, president of the village or whatever, he cut his hand and he died from the infection. And the story is kind of told by his son the whole way through about how his father had got him through all these hardships and all these dangers and stuff like that to make it into the community. And it just took a little cut in his hand to get infected. And there weren't antibiotics, as we all know that, when we talk about, best by dates and expiration dates, especially expiration dates with medicine. Um, Liquids and especially antibiotics don't last that long. They're not that good after their best by or expiration date. They really are expired. That was in that one video I showed you. So to keep a good supply of this stuff around as much as you can, and also learn about homeopathic um, antiseptics and stuff like that. Native Americans use those for wounds and stuff like that, and it worked really well. So always have some of that on hand too, and grow it in your survival garden. We've got some great videos on survival gardens. Um, but the second story I wanted to talk about and why this kit is so important, I used to work for a company out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. It was called Fox Tent and Awning. And there was a gentleman who was in charge of all the crews. There were seven crews, and each crew had 4 to 6 guys. We were all college age. We worked 7 days a week, 120 hours a week, putting up tents. Tents for revivals, tents for Catholic things, tents for weddings and bar mitzvahs and parties and stuff like that. Matter of fact, we put up the tents for President Gerald Ford's daughter's wedding with the CIA. Sometime I'll tell you that story about me and the CIA and Secret Service. And since I was the lead crew chief on that. But all of our center poles are wood. All of our side poles are wood. We had stakes that were wood with metal bands on it, and we constantly destroyed our hands. I remember, every time you would go there, no matter how tough you thought you were, your hands were destroyed in the first couple of weeks. I mean, there were blisters and all that kind of stuff, and you were a wuss if you put a Band-Aid on. Because it didn't harden up anything. It didn't help your hands. By the end of the summer, your hands were like leather. It was like wearing gloves. But Patrick You never want to tell Patrick that you had a splinter or a sliver or whatever you want to call it, because he would come over to you, big guy, really great guy, absolutely fantastic guy. Um, he would grab your hand and he'd put it under his arm like this, and we'd hold it, and he'd pull out his knife, and he would just go for the object. I mean, go for the object, and it was crazy. And you would just sit there, and you had to take it. You had to take it because everybody, all the other crews, or maybe just your crew, were watching you. And if you could have a tear come to your eye, but you couldn't whine, you couldn't pull back. You just would go for it, and then you would clean it out, and he would put antiseptic in it, and then he would bandage it up, and he'd say, okay, now get out of here, go, do whatever, go home, or go to your job site and everything, because a lot of wood, a lot of splinters, a lot of metal splinters with wood splinters and stuff like that. And we used really heavy manila rope on the tents back then. We're going all the way back to the 70s. Most of you weren't alive, I'm sure. Maybe some of your parents weren't alive back then either, I don't know. But he made sure that it got out of your hand, because what happens if you leave that stuff in there? One, it's a pain in the butt. Your thumb will swell, your fingers will swell up, or whatever like that. But it also can get infected, depending on what got in there. And leaving it open isn't any good either. That's why your antibiotics, a lot of people, just say Neosporin, make sure that's on there with a clean Band-Aid and stuff like that. But this kit is going to help you get that stuff out of there. I wish I would have had this kit way back when. I wish I would have had this kit most of my life, because it really works out very well. Let me show it to you. It starts out with some basic tweezers, a straight tweezer and a curved tweezer. And the nice thing about these tweezers is you press it to open it. So it's really nice how you press it, and then if you release it, it grabs it. And that little angle really works out perfect for you, okay? So these are nice, spring action. These two come with it. Then there's this little object. It's very interesting. I love this. So you unscrew it, you pull it out. I'm hoping you can see this on the video. All right. Yeah, I guess you can see it on my shirt. There's a little loop on there. So you can press down on whatever you got, and you can actually maybe get that loop underneath it and hold it open, and then somebody else could pull it out for you. And you just work it in, just lift that up a little bit, and sometimes that's all you need, to get it, up and out. So that's very cool. There is another end on this, and of course, no instruction book came with this. I got it on Amazon. They call it the 4-piece foreign object removal kit. Here you go. Saw this just because I go on Amazon or other places, and I just look at some other sites. Now there's this little end to it also. Not 100% sure. There's no opening in the end. At first I thought there might be an opening that you could get in there. I suppose you could use it, because this also then attaches. I guess you could use it somehow to, work on your finger and push it out. I mean, because sometimes maybe that's what it's for. It's to push it closer, because if it gets in too far and then it breaks off, you're going to have a hard time getting it out. And that's what Patrick would do. He would grab your hand, do this, sharpest knife, former military officer. He would just get in there, and he would just slice your finger open, get in there, and just dig that puppy out and get it out of your hand. But in this kit, it said 4 pieces. I showed you 1, 2, 3, and now possibly the coolest, 4. These are tweezers with a magnifying glass. So you can get in there and you can actually see what's going on, and it raises and lowers. So depending on if you could see or not, kind of goes in and out. But you can get in there and you can, look for that and then find it and then pull out what you need. Very cool kit. Like I said, I mean, it's a great kit, for prepping. It's a great kit to have it out, but it's a great kit to have at home. It's just very, very cool So you want to keep it together, obviously, keep it someplace. You want to make sure you have some antiseptic, uh, antibiotic, triple antibiotic ointment. And I like the pain reliever on it. I'm not a wuss, but the pain reliever stuff, get it. It works out real good because then, because you've just cut or pulled or whatever to your finger or whatever, and put that pain reliever in there, really, really helps a lot. Again, like I said, with this, you probably also want to throw some bandages. You also want to um, have some, like 4x4s or 2x2s, maybe some gauze and some tape, also just in case, depending on where you get the splinter or the cut and stuff like that. I've had them in my legs, before working in the woods and stuff like that. When I was also a kid, another thing, when we didn't have access to the different type of triple antibiotic ointments, we would use hydrogen peroxide. Now I hear that hydrogen peroxide really isn't good, but obviously it does something, because whenever you have a bad cut and it gets infected, or if there's dirt in there, it really bubbles and get out of there. I don't know if it's because it dries out the skin. I don't know if it's bad, if it gets into the, well, it will get into your body, because you have an opening in your body. You have a cut or whatever, and that's why you're using the stuff. But that's something else. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember, I cut my hand. My father would put my hand over a sink and just pour hydrogen peroxide at it. Hey, if you don't have this, it's another option. There's other options out there. Take a look on the internet, what they have for wound care, how to dress a wound. We're not going to talk about dressing wounds and stuff like that this time. But that's it. That's the kit that I wanted to show you on Prepping Tip of the Week this week. And it is called the 4-piece foreign object removal kit. There it is. Cool, huh? Directly off of Amazon. It comes with like little cases that you can put everything together. Um, I keep it all inside this bag. Each bag has little bags. You can put everything in there. Keep it clean every time you use it. Make sure you disinfect it with something, be it boiling it or some type of, you know, um, oh, what's the stuff called? That you use in hand sanitizer and stuff. Isopropyl alcohol. You can clean it off with like isopropyl alcohol. Before you do it, clean your hands. Clean your hands afterwards, and you'll be a lot happier, a lot safer, and you won't get an infection. So that's it. That's your prepping tip of the week. As we always end our videos, we always say thank you to our subscribers. We really appreciate this. Pass this on to other people that may need this or want this. We really appreciate the increase in subscribers. Thank you very much. But as we end, remember, always be aware of your surroundings, no matter where you are at. Always have enough food on hand, whether you have to bug out, shelter in place. That's food, water, medicine. Don't forget your pets. Don't forget the family members that are going to have to maybe escape their area and come to your place. Little things that they may have. May have a granddaughter or a grandson who's still in diapers. Do you have diapers at your house? Well, think about it. And lastly, please prep like your life depends on it, because it really does. I don't know if that movie was all that true, but if you think about it, if you don't have antiseptic oil and you get cut and you get infected, your body's not going to be able to take care of it on its own. So thank you very much. Take care, and we'll see you next week.